I have extra.
Aaron, you're right here. Can I get that?
Oh, holiday.
Yeah.
We have more people coming, but Danielle's on her way.
Is that holiday you just used to say that? And someone just asked, I'm assuming New Year's is the same as Christmas. It's gonna be Friday and Monday.
Everything's Friday, Monday.
I've already- Everybody's asking and I'm like, oh, I know they talk about it.
Walk that around when we're done here.
Today's first day of the audit. Today's the first day of the audit.
No,
No,
they've
only
been
been
here.
27th.
Put a map behind you.
I'll give Danielle a few minutes before we start this.
Yes.
Okay.
Really detailed, that's for sure. Old,
Mhm.
detailed.
Check that out.
Would you know for sure still coming, Brenda?
Pardon me?
Danielle?
I think Rich is coming too.
Denise just walked in too. I passed her in the hall.
Pardon me?
Denise is here. She said she'll be down in just a minute.
Okay. Just. Before the meeting starts, Tim. The website needs to be updated. Nothing's been done to it since July.
Budget reports, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the website.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Brenda asked me about it yesterday. I went and looked,
Yeah.
July's the last one on there.
Right, and I used to
Morning.
email it to Tom and then he said he was gonna retrieve it, so. Yes, I'm not sure if he was still gonna do that or. if he-
Hi, how are you?
It's 9 o'clock in the morning. How good can he be?
I'm really good,
At Highway Brewing Company.
cause I've been up since 7 taking care of my cats.
Give him a.
Showered, all dressed and
There
cleaned up.
you go.
Right?
Saw him up there. This is the new line.
I was gonna, and I didn't. So,
It looked like.
So I'm gonna throw this note away.
yeah,
Tim.
I saw pictures and I'm like, oh, they have a good
Throw
one.
this
I'm
note.
glad I didn't go. I went to, gotta see.
Is there a specific spot on the webpage? Because I know we've had like RFPs and stuff get posted.
Yeah, so there is, under budgets tab, there's monthly budgets through July. There is the draft copies of the 2023-2024 budgets, but they still say draft, so that needs to be updated with the current budget that was adopted, and then the monthly budgets from July through November should be added. When they asked about it yesterday, so I reached out to Tom, and he said, no, I haven't been given anything to post. And I don't know who's responsible for that anymore.
I do not know how the wires
I
are
don't
all
even know what
together,
this
so.
is, so I'm gonna go up here and look and
Get the
see.
wires.
So what
back
was,
together.
so when I used to run the monthly budget reports, everybody can access their own except for a few, so now I just send out the few that I
Right,
do.
yeah.
And I used to send Tom the,
Budget.
and then I thought he had said he was just gonna restart retrieving it himself, cause he could. So then I haven't been sending it to him,
Sounds like something.
but it's just a box I can check. to-
Misunderstanding, I'm sure.
Well, it's same thing like me. It's something new. It's out of my routine and I forgot and
Right, so I don't know if you were doing a different one, cause I know you were doing some sort of condensed one
Mhm.
for the board at one point, so. It's a matter of, yes, just checking a box and it will automatically email to him
Okay,
in a PDF if I'm supposed to do the one out of BSNA.
Okay,
I'll talk to Tom. I mean, he may have another method that. just
Okay.
automatic.
Danielle's gonna be a few minutes late, so we can start it anyway. guys. One person, but she's got the talking part, piece of this too. So we call the book. Take notes. Thank you.
Or is Denise taking notes? You said she was gonna be your secretary?
Huh?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll take notes for you.
Thank you.
I did send out minutes for everybody that I took from the last
Yeah.
one.
And I do appreciate that.
Yes.
And they all said that they received them. They said, oh, we already have a copy of that. Keep. Good. I'm gonna quit my routine then. Okay, need a roll call of all the people, and it should be the top of the agenda, all the people that are part of this. So it's, I'm here, Charles,
Here.
Karen,
Here.
Tracy,
Yeah.
Denise,
Yep.
Tim,
Yes,
Randy's not here. Tom's not here. Paul's here. Danielle will be here. Mike LaFave's here. Well, that's pretty good. So, I need a motion to approve the agenda, but does anybody have any deletions or additions to this agenda before we start? Do you have something to talk about that's important for this committee to discuss? Nothing. Okay, need a motion to approve the agenda, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, I'll second.
I'll second. Oh, you second,
No,
I'll second.
Dave
Okay.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, no. The copy of the entire budget is on the county website, but some of.
It's coming.
It's, the updates are coming, so it hasn't been updated for a while. We need to talk about the Headley rollback. My understanding is last meeting, we decided it should be on the May ballot, is that correct?
Well, I know that's what we had discussed, but nothing's been locked down, but we were kind of
No.
tilted in that way.
So, and then, we have some verbiage from Roscommon County also, what they had put on their ballot, so we don't have to totally reinvent the wheel.
Can I add some things?
Yeah,
to the May
Yes,
ballot?
this is up for discussion,
So Mike Durfee, he's on the transit committee also, West Branch Township.
Yes.
Board. He had been talking at a transit committee a couple months ago that the library, because he's on the library board, or was looking to possibly do a millage. And then they were kind of waiting to find out what the school, and I know Breck's been trying to, find out a yes or no from the school. So 2 days ago, the day after the MTA meeting, Mike Durfee texted me, said he did get confirmation from a school board member that the school is a yes for May. So that means we'd have school, and it sounds like the library wants to go in May. And then, again, there needs to be some good talks on all this, because we have a number of villages that have to go, so we need to have some strategy, so it's not all thrown, together on one. So we know February for sure. I mean, that deadline's over. We've got the Sheriff Road Patrol, and then Core ISD is gonna be on February. And we know for sure as of right now, coming from what I heard the other day, the school and the library for May. But we know we want, Headley's obviously an extremely important one.
Yeah.
But then we also have transit, we have EMS equipment. Support, have we heard any more from the dog shelter?
other than they couldn't participate in any expenses. And so that's why they backed off on the February. They just couldn't, they don't have the funds to do that. Now, I don't know if I don't know the rules on this. I don't know if in May they can join on without any additional expense. I don't know. I think August they can. And certainly November, but that was their holdup. It was just a financial thing. So, and with the costs that we talked about at the last board meeting, I can understand their concern.
Yeah. So with that being said, Tim, what other millages are we missing from what I?
It's MSU extension,
Veterans.
veterans, right?
Are those all
Co-op,
August or are those gonna be May?
Yeah, Commission on Aging, that's gotta go this year too.
Everything
Yeah.
goes this year.
Yeah, there's EMS 911's good for a number of years yet.
So
That's-
2 for EMS,
Just
the
one.
renewal and.
No, the renewal is the following year.
Which are they gonna pay for election on and off year?
Yeah,
We didn't have any elections for this off year. There may not be any.
Yeah, it'd be the only option if they want. Village. Me and Paul are both on the board. He's the chairman. And we're gonna need that renewal.
You may wanna call someone about that, or tell your board about that.
EMS is not in a very good condition.
I mean,
What's
they
that?
might wanna look on doing one in August and one in November, just to piggyback on an election. If otherwise they gotta pay for it, because if we don't have anything else scheduled.
Right.
I mean,
It would depend if we go for that extra one. my opinion, kind of wait and see how that plays out and make a decision from there. 'Cause you have the extra money from the second millage. Then use that for, I'd rather see it the following year. That's just my opinion.
It's a good question, though. We'll
I mean,
definitely,
They bring it up,
To the
just
board.
saying that there's not always an election on the off years.
right. I think that's all of them, though.
I think the ones that we have any involvement in, I don't know what the schools might have or townships or anybody else.
Now, is the school gonna go on the February ballot?
I think the only one that's gonna be there will be the ISD.
I think, yes, nobody else has filed. There's
The court, you mean?
the deadline
Yeah,
for,
court.
and sheriff are the only ones that are.
And we split the cost on that.
That's
Okay.
what we understand. I'm gonna just bring up one thing, and this seems maybe more tedious than it needs to be, but I'm really concerned about our terminology. When we talk about Headley, I hear rollback and I hear override thrown around almost like they're interchangeable, but they're not. The rollback is what equalization does every year. What we're talking about is the override. And I think that's the term that's used actually in the statute as well. And I think our group can maybe promote using override and not confusing people with rollback.
That's a good point. I need to sharpen my pencil on that one.
Or restoration, right? I mean,
Restoration would work. The override is the actual word that's been used, but yeah, I mean, that
something,
It's
I
the
don't know,
same
you
thing.
just think of the
rollback
way
is what,
people
yeah,
perceive things, right? Like override, like, I don't know.
Randy worked.
Restoration may be a
Infringing or
perfect
something.
word for that, then, really.
Yeah.
If it can be used.
Returning to what it was.
Yeah.
What it's always been.
Yeah. What it used to be.
So Commissioner Simmons, I think we should use this group also as our strategy group for these millages.
I agree.
So I think that's a conversation we need to really have right now is, so how many do we want to try to go in May?
Well, we have August and we have November, right? I don't know, we don't want to put too many on in May. We got the Headley restoration on in May
School.
and the school. You want to do the rest in August and September? Anybody's thoughts, anybody just
I
had?
think leaving your millages that you're confident are gonna pass, like Veterans Commission on Aging, the services that always pass, save those for November. Save those for the end. The ones that are risky
Right.
and you might need another fail-safe election as a backup plan, put those on early.
Good.
Yeah.
So Headley for May should just be an absolute, that's in the books now. We just gotta figure out how we wanna market it.
Mhm.
Yeah, we probably should call it the Headley restoration, you know?
I mean, you don't have to. I just was throwing it out.
No, but
No, I think that's how we
Your
referred to it
word
the
to
last time.
understand.
I kinda like that.
Override to me carries a negative.
That's what I mean.
Connotation.
That's what I mean.
I think we
about-
called it a restoration the last time we come up with it.
so the money that would bring in for that Headley amendment would be considerable. And it would help us out significantly.
Now Ogemaw Township,
called it
just did-
restoration.
yeah, Ogemaw Township tried to do Headley override, and we said override, and it did not pass just this last year.
Just so we're,
So,
there's another issue statewide. There's a group that's trying to eliminate property tax entirely.
Did you bring it?
No, I will this afternoon.
We might be.
I'll give you the
With that,
flyer.
even though it won't be on like the May ballot,
it should
it might be
for November.
something that's people are starting to talk about by the time this comes.
From what I've read, they're putting it on the November ballot if they collect enough signatures on their petition. And Brenda actually went and heard the gal from Detroit speak at the Republican Party the night of MTA.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't at the MTU.
How was it?
And it was pretty convincing, really.
Was it?
It's very convincing.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Well, what I would like to do
Did
is,
you say it was convincing and it sounded?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
but it'd be nice, next MTA meeting, I'm gonna see if, I'll talk to Dennis Stevens and see if she can come to the next MTA meeting. So all of us could be there, have appropriate questions to ask, to find out about. And then when she comes up with a reason, just say, well, what if, because you can't go on maybes on stuff like this, because we don't want to close the schools. We don't want to close the counties.
can you see if she could come to a COW meeting too, and talk to us commissioners,
A what?
Cow meeting.
a cow meeting?
Well, if she does come to a call meeting, I'd like all of us to be there. But if she comes to the MTA meeting, that means all the townships would be able to hear what she has to say.
Oh, I think that's important too. I would like.
No, she comes from Rockford, so that's quite a drive from here. About three and a half hour drive from here.
Oh,
So she won't be able to come, not unless they're both the same day.
I thought maybe she was like a regional manager for this push.
No, no.
I think she sits on the Detroit Council, doesn't she, Randy? The main lady that's driving this?
The main lead that's driving is from down by Holland. She gave a presentation at Mackinac Island to the Republican Congress, and she was in Detroit. There's a state rep in Detroit that's pushing it with her. Can't remember her name, but they're the
There's
two
gals.
drivers.
Mhm. One out of Grand Rapids, one out of the Detroit area. She
Yeah.
spoke at the Republican Party this week,
Oh,
Yeah, her
our
name
local
is
Republican Party.
Carla Wagner, I think that's what her name was.
yeah, she's out of Holland.
Yeah. Where's Rockford?
Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids.
That
Over
area,
that same area.
She's- I
Well,
think-
all the property taxes are from Rockford, so,
and she doesn't like them.
no, she doesn't. Man, some of those, and I did bring that to her attention, where she lives. Houses are much more expensive
Sure
than
they
they are
are.
here.
Well, that's right.
And she's, about this, that, and the other, and I said, and I brought that up, I said, you brought. Examples up here of houses that are worth $800,000. There aren't any houses around here that are like that.
There's a few.
I know there might be, yeah, but
There's a surprising amount that are $500,000 and $600,000.
yeah, there are. I do know that. Because they're going to sale for that much money. But so and one of her tax bills was like over $20,000 for a business. So that was like over $1 million or whatever it was for that
So
property.
what's their stance? How does county government survive? I mean, how do we keep this county running when no one pays property taxes?
You don't.
Their suggestion is they want the state to use tobacco tax and marijuana tax to fund municipal services.
And the additional sales tax, because all the businesses are gonna boom, so that money's gonna flow through to the state, and then they can pass that along to the county.
Sorry. Sorry.
And
That's true.
and it'd be good for the businesses because they will lower their costs on their items they have for sale because now they don't pay property tax. And the first word that came to my mind was greed. Once you're making this X amount of money, you're not gonna reduce it. Greed is the name of the game here, folks. As far as business goes, and you can understand that. You never know what's gonna come up next.
And truly, at the end of the day, and I can say this confidently, owning a number of different businesses, your property tax is a very minimal number compared to your overall expenses of your business. Very minimal number, especially with the way inflation's been the last 3 years. Oh, it's crazy.
Crazy.
Have you noticed that gas has come down 56 cents in the last couple of weeks?
It's under
56
$2.
cents.
See, it all shot up
Let's
to
do potato
3.29
chips.
again.
And down the gas at $5.60. What'd you say?
I said, now let's do potato chips.
Yeah.
Bring those down.
$6 for a half a bag.
I won't
That
even
is
buy
not
it. I
true
won't
even
even buy
half
them
a
anymore.
day.
Potato chips and stuff, I don't even buy that anymore. Way out of hand.
It's a vice.
And I love pickle bologna too, but I won't buy it at the price it is now. I mean, it's gone up $6 a thing and I don't need it that bad.
Make your own.
So, good. So we need to come up with a plan for,
Developing a flyer. We're gonna start with a flyer. Are you gonna start with a newspaper ad? What's the strategy?
I need input.
Where are we getting the funds?
We'll have to, and I talked to someone recently. And they said, you cannot spend tax dollars for this. But they said you can spend tax dollars to educate people. Is that a true statement?
Yes. So we did that when we had the first go around with the road patrol millage. everything, we were very careful, that everything that went out of here,
What they
just strictly facts. Here's what the budget is, here much is how much is spent on training each year and so on. And that, you know, if it's passed, I mean, these are the things that it would cover. Never on anything did you say, vote yes. Didn't ever tell anybody how to vote. It just, here are the facts. And that's it. And the same would be true here. Yeah, depend on Randy, give us some information about how much this would generate and maybe some history about how Headley came into effect in the first place. And for 45 years, we've continued to have rollbacks that have impacted not just the county, but, you know, their townships as well and everybody else that deals with that. And so what that's done is eroded away what you as voters already said that we could assess in terms of millage. I would couch it as a state change that impacted us, and here's the amount. And then we talked about, if approved, this is what it will pay for. Maybe, you know, bullet points on something like that. But never can you say, you know, vote for this. It's just, here are the facts.
So I have the flyer from the last go round saved in my computer. Do you want me to get with Randy and the two of us can develop something that we could bring back to you at the next meeting?
That'd be perfect.
And I would suggest running it by our attorneys. We've got a lot of expertise in this, and they can tell us if there's a buzzword that we maybe shouldn't use.
Sure.
What about something free? You just need the energy and the brain power to create a real nice Facebook page for just regarding Headley restoration, and really try to get it out there for all of us to share.
Yeah. So the county itself doesn't have a social media platform, but maybe it's time to develop one for the county, not specific to offices like the PA office and the sheriff have Facebook pages, but maybe it's time for the county to have one.
Yeah, and there could be
Platform.
friends of the county or whatever, some kind of a.
So maybe we can
I would
get
even
on
suggest
developing
it
a
be nonprofit,
county
but
Facebook page for Tom,
start talking about it, yeah.
a county Facebook page.
There's some trapdoors in that too, that we'll
Yeah.
watch out for, but
But with proposal A and this Headley, it's devastating to all municipalities to survive. You know, I mean, this is these two pieces of government help make municipalities can't afford to be municipalities with all the service they have, because there just isn't the money in this. Headley and proposal A is taking care of that. So
The
we're at
next,
a lose-lose here.
the next MTA meeting is the 29th of February.
Yes,
Hopefully we can hash out a nice informational flyer that we could hand out at the next MTA.
I just make comment. I wouldn't say hopefully. I mean, I think we need.
Make it happen.
Yeah, I'd say
Okay,
by middle of
that's our goal.
January, we should have our ducks in a
nice-
row,
Okay,
a plan in place. And I've said this a lot since we started talking about this at commissioner meetings and just talking with people. I think one of the biggest thing that's gonna make this successful is we have to have a consistent message, and that message has to be shared the same exact way amongst all of us,
mhm, yes.
period. That
Yes.
is so important.
Mhm.
I wish we had someone who, and I'd be willing to a point, but you know, I mean, I can only do so much is to have like a spokesperson that can commit to look at the calendar and right up till May, we can look at all of our townships, the meeting times. And you know, I think we should discuss some locations like where we have a lot of people that come for morning coffee and donuts. And I know there's a few clubs that meet quite often, that Optimist clubs and all that. And I think we need to target all these people, but the message has to be the same.
Yes.
And I think the biggest part too is, and we just got to be honest with the people, like I was the other night at the MTA meeting. We're not trying to get this money to be able to continue operations the way the county's operated, because we can't continue. It's not sustainable. This isn't to fill holes. We're gonna use this money and we need to figure out exactly what we're gonna use this money for. And the people need to know that, and they need to know that that's what the money is gonna go for, but it's not to fill holes to be able to keep this level of government that we know is not sustainable going.
Right. And Roscommon, when I reached out to Jody, she said that's where they feel like they failed, was that they did not present that information to the public.
Mhm.
What is it going to be used for?
Right, because they're gonna see that. I mean, that first year, Randy said over $1 million.
Mhm.
We need to have a plan, what exactly
What
that
it will-
$1 million.
What services are they going to get for that?
I know when Greenwood Township did their Headley override, it failed miserably, but the paper interviewed the supervisor. I said, well, what are we gonna lose if it doesn't pass? They never articulated anything.
Right.
It's just, well, we're gonna have to make cuts. It was real vague, and to this date, they've never made any cuts,
Yes.
but. they
And
had
we
the
failed in
override
that
fail.
also the last
Yes,
time.
we did.
We weren't able to pinpoint for the community what services would be gone.
Then
So
when we
that's
said
where
what
we failed.
services were be gone, because we were told they would be gone,
They didn't go
they
away.
didn't go
stayed.
away,
We're, Roscommon's faced with that same problem now,
so.
right? They came up with
Yes.
solutions.
Yes.
So I wasn't very polite and
And so now you go and
Yeah.
put that same,
And now there's distrust with the public because they're
Sure.
like, you said that was gonna be gone and you're still
Mhm.
paying for it.
Mhm.
So
yeah, well, I called MSU leadership right out in the commissioner
Some
meeting.
of the things did go though. MSU was gone and they got a millage.
right, but in public perception, that service is still there.
right? No, I mean, it didn't
They-
stay, like the departments, when ours failed, they were no longer paid out of the general fund, but there were some solutions
Resources.
found
Mhm.
to keep, you know.
And
the
that's what
departments.
happened here to MSU, back them, and they paid that.
Right.
But we weren't
But
told
we got
that.
a millage
Right,
No,
before.
it,
The
it
first year.
failed the first time.
Mhm.
And and we were told when we were pushing it the first time, that
Yeah,
if it doesn't pass,
Because I
MSU
went
will be
out-
gone.
I went out
And
and did
MSU,
videos.
yeah,
at
and MSU
Clemens
wasn't
Farm.
gone.
Mhm.
Judge's daughter did a video for me and we put that up on social media and everybody was sharing it. Saying if we don't get this passed, MSU is gonna be gone and the videos were all over the place, had huge hits. And MSU didn't get,
That's when
the
I,
service was not gone, so.
that's when I called the leader of MSU a liar. She lied to us. And that's why we look stupid.
Perception,
Yeah,
perception. All right, so is that a yes? You'd like Randy and I to work together to develop a flyer that you can review and tweak in
Yeah.
our January meeting? Randy, are you good with that?
Yeah.
Partner with me?
okay, good.
A week.
Flyer.
I did talk to Tom.
Yep, I wrote down, yep, social media,
And this is going on the May ballot, so we have plenty of time to educate the people.
right, but we want our flyer done right away. The-
No, I
the-
understand
the
that.
Facebook page, the flyer to start getting that information out there and definitely be ready for MTA for February.
Yeah,
And then we'll need that resolution to notify Brackett that you're doing that as well, which is what, like 2 months before the
I think
deadline. I'll have to look at the.
For May, I think it's February something.
Yeah, so.
all right.
No,
So how does that work? So these other villages, like the library, I'm sure there's a chairman of the library
Mhm.
board. Do they
Chairman.
come to us and say, we want a millage for May? I mean, because right now it's just hearsay, right?
there's a library millage.
they're
Yes.
discussing it.
Discussing.
They have a millage, they're looking at an increase.
How much?
Closing West Branch Library, they're 0.4 mils now. I don't know what they're looking going up to.
They came, you talked to us.
They've talked about it, yeah, I've talked to the.
Right.
Whoever.
Yeah, I don't know his name, but Karen Michael is heavy on,
Karen
heavy
Michaels
member of
involved
their
in it,
board.
Michael Durfee's on them.
Is it the reduction mostly in penal fines? Did they express
Mhm.
what?
Yes.
The revenues are down. I didn't really get into that with them. They're just
That's
looking
what,
at.
Well,
that's what Karen discussed with me.
From my perspective, I confidently could say that your county 5 years ago, and the amount of money that was brought in on civil infractions, which is predominantly penal fines, library, right? Like, we're talking, I mean, Roscommon to Ogemaw, 10,000 civil infractions, Roscommon County, 2,000 civil infractions, Roscommon County. So I can't imagine how they're possibly keeping their doors open, functioning at whatever level
that
they're
they were.
used to.
Those numbers you just said were 5 years ago.
Correct, yes, and it's slowly,
Cause we had highway cars. We
Yes.
used to call it the wolf pack.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We've all been through it, right?
and it mostly affects libraries, civil
MTA had
infractions.
an
Yes, it
article
does.
magazine years ago, and they were talking about libraries and things. Ogemaw County had the highest per capita rate
I'm sure,
in the state. They were around $15 per resident annually for the.
yeah,
They receive for the library, and Metro Detroit libraries were less than $1.
oh, I'm sure.
It was,
I mean, it goes, you see the graphs that Scale publishes, and it's like Ogemaw County, like, woo, you know what I
5 years
mean?
ago, we're
Yeah.
$15 a resident.
Yeah.
Now, if we did that, what, $1.50?
You're sitting, yeah, probably, you're sitting around
It's,
2,000 civil infractions.
Which
yeah,
is-
that's a lot of money lost.
So, and when those stop, let's say those penal fines for traffic and stuff. When they stop, that affects just more than the sheriff's department. It affects, like you said, the
Oh, it affects
library.
court costs, the general fund, the library,
It affects a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a
Jail
lot of
reimbursement
different
to the
buckets in that
state.
when you pay a ticket.
Yeah, yeah.
When our township issues $100 citation for blight, we get $46. The rest of it gets distributed to the courts or wherever, but that's.
Yeah.
For $100 ticket, we get $46 from the county.
$10 goes to the state, 2/3 stays with the general fund, and then the agency that wrote the ordinance gets 1/3.
So you're doing pretty good then. So
Actually, writing under ordinances, the agency that cites the infraction does benefit more than if you wrote under state civil infraction.
Send you over to equalization to narrow.
So we're 100% committed to May for Headley restoration.
Yes.
Does that mean we try to push these other entities like the library and
To,
August?
or if they know which, document numbers.
Up over her box. Yeah, good news up and ever. There you go.
It's gonna put a lot on for August.
Oh, it didn't do it.
That's a lot of millages.
I can't get it. It's by the crack of the table.
Excellent, Miss, you know, text.
Okay.
So. Okay, so Penny, Karen, you get a flyer, come back the next meeting. Let's talk about the next meeting then. When do we want to have that?
Can we?
End
still talk
end of
about the
December?
villages? We
Beginning
talk
of January.
more about the villages still. I think it's really important that we make some decisions so we can talk to some of these stakeholders and,
Mhm.
you know, it's
Invite them to our
December.
next meeting.
Invite them to the next meeting and
Well, the board needs to discuss what you guys are willing to get rid of next if you don't get it. You know, I mean, we can come up with some ideas, but you as a board, like what's the next, who's on the next chopping block?
well, that's a whole nother story. I'm talking right now for the villages and when we're gonna.
I
Right.
understand, but if you want
just
to
need
have
to
this
get your-
Headley thing,
Just to get
you
your
got to
list,
know what's gonna be gone.
so you can develop your list of,
Cuts.
What's next on the
Yeah,
chopping
right,
block?
right.
so what, like, have you guys discussed it? I haven't been able to go the last couple of meetings. Has it?
No,
No,
it's not been discussed.
but you're right. I mean, that's a whole nother part of the conversation we need to have.
What-
We're just talking
But it has to, those
Sure.
decisions have to be made
Strategies.
before we're going out to the public, because you have to be able to quantify.
Right.
This is what's going to be missing. We can't support the major parts, we can't support this or whatever little funds there are.
Well, and you said they pretty much have cut where they can cut. They've gotten rid of the most part, any
Everything
non-statutory
that
department.
was-
The county doesn't
At the
support the
village
beach
now.
park anyway.
Okay.
It's all done by
So it'd be like
501c3 now.
staffing. Really,
yeah,
right?
anyway, it's,
It's
that's
staffing.
where it is, yeah.
So that's a conversation we need to start immediately. Like we should add it to next week's meeting.
So less staff, you're having a longer turnaround time of getting your services when you're coming to the building. Right? So however that can be articulated. I'm just trying to think of ways how you communicate, like how you package that up. They might think, oh, well, so what? You know what I mean? But like.
Yeah.
They
But
want
we
to,
still need to be able to present it to them.
sure, yeah.
These
You
are
want to evict
services that will
someone,
be
might take you,
reduced.
double the time and it's already a really long process.
We're gonna add it to next Thursday's cow meeting.
Okay.
Because that is something, yeah, I mean, we're doing all this work with flyers and social media. We need to have the information of what
What are
along with
flyer?
that. So
Yes.
we'll start next Thursday and
Education is where we're going. Okay.
And then who all do we want to invite to our next budget committee meeting? Someone from the library board?
chairman of the library board or someone for library board.
Yeah, probably Karen Michaels will probably come to that. She's big on the
Well, should
library.
we invite Justin from EMS or me and you just talk with him and we represent probably
We can bring Justin, just so we know.
Justin from EMS?
Okay,
And transit would be Ray Blamer.
okay. Jeff Nichols,
Jeff Nichols for veterans.
Carol Gilman from COA.
Commission on Aging, yeah.
Bill Durst for MSU Extension.
Yeah, that'd probably Julie.
Oh, Julie. Julie. And then we'll have to find out contact for the dog shelter.
Yeah,
I have
actually,
one.
okay.
Animal shelter, yeah.
I have a contact.
I think that's,
Does your animal shelter fall under the county umbrella? How is it structured here?
It's a
Family owned.
Yeah, it's
it's a private,
contract.
501c3 operation.
Dogs on our, from us at a I don't know if it's a reduced rate or not, but.
So we have for the list of invites, library, EMS, transit, veterans, commission on aging, MSU, animal shelter.
Anybody think of anybody else? I'm sick of the game.
Should print out that email you sent me. I think that's a.
Yeah.
that's a one thing.
Okay.
I'll do that. I'll get that out to the group. We've got a nice little one-page cheat sheet that shows all the millages when they expire.
And you're
What
gonna
to go
send the
for.
invite out to everyone? Did you just say?
I'm gonna send that information sheet out to our committee.
Oh, to our committee.
Yeah.
Okay,
How about the school? Yeah.
we're gonna invite the school also?
Should.
No, Huey? Okay. Do you want
Now,
me to do the
Do
invite?
do you want to invite the core?
Well, they've
'cause
already said they're
they've
gonna be on February. They've already made their
Yeah,
decision.
and they're coming to you on the 14th.
Mhm.
They'll be
Okay.
here. So,
All right,
Is that something that you could take?
Yeah,
care
yeah.
of?
Do you want me to do the
I
reach
think,
out?
I think it'd be great.
Sure.
There's 10 villages on next this year?
There's a bunch. Plus, there's a few townships have already talked to me, they are.
This plus
They're gonna come
core
in
and the
and
sheriff's village.
9, isn't it?
Not including anything that the townships, the local municipalities have for road renewals.
Voter exhaustion here.
Uh-huh.
What's
Garbage
the,
pickup.
what's like the, based on the county millages, what are we talking about, a total of mill increase? Do we know that?
An increase.
A lot of them are renewals.
A lot of it just renewals, no additional ones.
The
There,
library.
some of them would like additional, Ray would like more money for transit, EMS is talking about a higher millage. What I've heard that they're looking at an increase in millage.
and it's good that we have them come so we know where they're going.
In regards to transit, I think we need to have a good hard look at that. I mean, I understand federally and state varies year to year, but we've got a good fund balance there. We've got all this going on, so.
Also got that building going
On
on
that, I
too.
mean, you're on the committee. too.
Yeah.
I think it's something we really need to look at.
Went by there the other day and I see all the
Equipment.
rafters and stuff all laying out there, ready to put that building on.
Yeah, they're gonna be starting soon.
Cement's already poured, isn't it? For that building, no?
Say I did a concrete bill, but I don't remember.
I thought it
was.
was. Oh, no, there was a concrete, but it was for a different part there.
I'm pretty sure they'll probably pour that concrete after they go vertical.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna have all those invites. So we wanna have the next meeting then next week. So we get that on the plate, get going quickly.
Well,
That's good.
I don't think it's
That's
enough
enough.
time for the people we're inviting.
Especially
2 weeks,
time of year, maybe.
Mhm, you've got, yeah, with the holidays.
2 weeks. It'd be like the 15th of December.
I'm in Wyoming. I mean, I'm just one person, so.
Let's,
I'm out of town too,
I'm checking, I
14th and 15th.
gotta, if that's when I have a jury trial.
So you're saying January,
You're already set up for the 12th.
Yeah.
okay,
12th of January.
yeah,
But we got a lot of homework to
We have our
do.
department
Yeah,
heads.
we-
By then,
okay,
January,
January 12th, that's the next meeting.
so I will invite all of them to the January 12th at 9 o'clock.
Right here.
Okay.
And we're gonna have it, we may wanna have it out there, cause there's not gonna be enough room in here for all these people.
right.
We just have it set right up out there.
Mhm.
Or you could do it at the annex building, whatever you wanna do.
In your chambers is fine.
Okay. Okay, January 12th,
And we'll invite the stakeholders, of all the millages. And
Okay.
come up with a strategic plan.
and you're gonna do the flyer for the Headley,
Randy and I'll work together to have a sample flyer for you too.
okay? And you're gonna reach out to all the stakeholders.
I will reach out to the stakeholders.
Okay. The reason I have, may, everybody ready to move on to the next topic, retirement? I think a lot of us, may not understand. But MERS is a big cost that we have to pay. And we have no control over that, because we can't go out and shoot people, so they fall off the rolls, but. Everybody's drawing their retirement and it's costing a lot of money. And the only reason I put this on there is
Of course,
so you'd have some idea of how much money it is. In October, the bill was
Keep in
That
mind,
should
this
be
is only
20
the MERS DB. This isn't the DC. This is only MERS DB.
right.
Okay.
This is only the. Was it defined
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 benefit.
benefit.
benefit plan? I get those two mixed up. And it should say October 2023, not 2024. The bill for October was 153,000. The bill for November was 164,000. So the approximate bill annually is like 1.9 to $2 million a year. Just want everybody to know up front how much money that is. You know, you see it on your part of the budget, but the overall budget is almost $2 million a year just for retirement. And we don't have any control over that either. So that's another big, and that's why I put that on there, just to bring it to everybody's attention.
You can imagine this is
And it's gonna
our
grow.
bill, even though turns out all but one of the divisions was closed, 15 years ago, and this is still our bill. So, very positive for the county to have done that, but you can see it still has climbed. Looking at the actuary, we're gonna have an increase through 25, and then expecting it's going to start to see a big drop in this number. That also played a role in our ability to actually bond this because of that big drop. There are other factors like the interest rates and everything else that went into the conversation, but because of that big drop, suddenly it's not worth bonding anymore. We can't save enough. The state wanted us to save 15% at least to do this, and we can't do that with that drop coming. So
And interest rates weren't cooperating.
that's exactly true too.
Yeah.
So that plays into it. I had this thought, and I talked with the auditor about it finally this morning, and it was a head scratcher. Why are we budgeting it the way we are? Why are we saying, and I'll use Denise as the example, the Register of Deeds. If you look at the budget, if somebody were to call, and I get these calls occasionally that says, what you budget for Register of Deeds, I want to compare us to other counties. And say, well, here's what our budget is, but understand that a big chunk of that is this legacy MERS DB cost. It's not a cost that is being incurred today. It isn't, the paper or any recordings or anything. It's just a cost that we have to continue to pay. So why are we showing it then in the active budget that way? Would it not be better to take all the ones who are not currently on the payroll and getting DB and put them in a single county general, the 175 activity, 717, whatever we want to call it, and account for it there, because it is a cost to the county and a cost to the general fund. There's no question. In the case of like the sheriff's office, we have a few people that are still in the DB plan. So for those active employees, yes, I think you included in the ongoing budget. But why are we charging the department for something that occurred decades ago that they have no control over? That it is a cost that we committed to. Yeah, I understand that, but it's not a part of the current active budget. And the initial thought was, well, we have to do it this way because GASB says so. Well, I went through the GASB actually has a webpage, and they have a pretty big section dedicated to this particular rule. And everything I'm reading in there, with very few exceptions, has to deal with how it's reported in the audit. And I get it. There are standards that you want to maintain and columns that you want to show, spreadsheets. Very little discussion, though, about how we report it in the day-to-day accounting. In fact, there was one section that where that question looked like to me, and I don't pretend to understand all the terminology, but it looked like it was saying you can do it by department or you can do it in aggregate. Okay, so maybe there's an opportunity there to at least help clean up some of the budgets, and we don't have departments scrambling trying to figure out, what is this and why is it and so forth. We get the numbers every year from MERS through the actuary, so it's going to be very easy to break out who the active employees are and make sure that we at least capture that. Now, I'm not saying that we put all the cost in there. We have, for instance, in building inspections, I think we have one or maybe two employees who are still in the DB plan, but their fund needs to take care of that obligation, as does, any other, the road patrol fund. If there's anybody who's got a DB, should be there. And that's fine, but the bulk of it's going to be general fund. But why are we distorting department budgets by putting it in the departments. So they're gonna look into it a little bit more for us and give a more definitive answer. They're just, it's potential that we could change that, but Nathan was a little apprehensive about saying, absolutely, we can. We want to make sure that we're compliance with the rule. And there's some state rules through Uniform Chart of Accounts that he was concerned about, so he'll check into that too. So maybe we can account for it a little bit differently in the budgets anyway, to make it at least what we're looking at the department level, a little more realistic to what the department's expenses are versus this
Exactly.
long-term legacy.
We used to do it that way. And then it changed, what didn't, because it wasn't in our
Because
budgets.
Because the unfunded accrued liability was so high,
Mhm.
then the auditors came up with a spreadsheet of how to distribute that UAL cost. So it was my understanding we had to do it that way because of the government accounting standards. Nathan's gonna look into it to see if that is truly the fact.
Mhm.
And
And if it is, I've got some
Anything.
thoughts about how to refine that. So
Yes.
then we don't have so much guessing that's going on. And that's gonna be a challenge too, because, there's a lot of factors that go into it, but I think we can do it. It's just gonna be a matter of sitting down, putting the brain power to whatever formula we have to use to make it work.
I'm submitting my DB bill to the state for reimbursement
Mhm.
and have repeatedly asked, is this number what I should be charging the state for one person?
Yeah.
And I've been repeatedly told yes,
Mhm.
because that's what our accountants told us.
because this is the answer that I'm getting. So in the event of an audit,
You're gonna get to a point though, that there's only a handful of departments that has an active employee in that
We're
department.
almost there already.
And that department is gonna have a $500,000 obligation because they're taking the whole of the bill, right? 10 years of,
I have one in my bill, $76,000.
perfect example.
Yeah.
Mine's the same.
yeah,
I have one and 220,000 right now, but it's over the last 10 years. I mean, I know that that's what they're using,
But even
active
the
wages.
hypothetical with registered deeds, I actually had the call from a neighboring county, was just looking at what do you budget for your prosecuting attorney? And it was really distorted when you included this DB cost in there, to a point that I called it out. I said, look, this is what we're budgeted, but understand about a third of that is the DB cost. It's not the actual cost of running the prosecuting attorney.
Really, it's the accrued unfunded liability that's skewing it, because you still have to pay your
Right.
actives. So
Mhm.
I wouldn't say it's a defined benefit cost, but the unfunded accrued liability is the issue.
And that's the one I want to, if we can move it into one line.
But here's the breaking point. It's on the horizon.
Yeah.
It's coming.
So what type of savings are we talking about after 2025? Significant amount?
Unfortunately, they don't give that projection in this
Not even.
actuarial.
Yeah, roundabout.
No, they just give you a timeline or the breaking point, but they don't actually give you that projection
It-
of cost
Here's
reduction.
to keep in mind, this is the rolling of the chicken bones and reading the tea leaves part of the actuary work. They're assuming there's going to be mortality rate that,
Mhm.
people are going to die off at this age. They're assuming for the active employees that they're going to see, I think they're saying a 3% wage increase every year, which hasn't happened.
Market
So
rate of
there's a
return.
lot of guesswork in there that
Methodology.
frankly, you just can't hang your hat on it.
Yeah.
But we do see in general, there is going to be that drop. We know, the mortality rate is going to happen. We know that for sure. If employees aren't earning, the actives aren't earning a 3% increase every year, well, there's going to be some increase. So they're kind of worst casing it in terms of what those numbers are going to look like. So even though we say it's going to start dropping off in 25, it may be a steep decline. It may be just a little one by the time we get there. It's just going to depend on what they use now as their variables in their actuary.
I have a question to ask about that. When they retire, don't they get an annual 3% on MERS? I mean, I do on mine.
Yeah, you used to have to do that, or you used to have to, that was pretty common, but let's say it's about 2006, 2007. MERS decided that if you're going to do that, yeah, you can still do it, but as the funding unit, you're going to have to give us the whole money up front to do it. And those were usually numbers that were not palatable for anybody. So you, frankly, are seeing that not happening. There might be some plans, I dove into them enough, where the county said you'll get that increase every year. If they did it before that cutoff date, then they still get it, but that would impact our you know, what we have to pay in MERS every year too. I don't remember seeing that in any of the plans, but
It looks like it stopped in the nineties.
yeah,
The COLA. Looking at the history of the benefits.
So you're telling
They
me it
dropped
never
off.
goes up? When you retire, you get $1,000 a month retirement, it stays that way.
I don't,
this
The rest of
amount,
your
and
life?
that's it.
for
Or,
life,
okay,
right, no COLA increases. Looks like they stopped it in 1990.
Well, I'm glad I'm not on that program.
So we have a
I get my
county,
3% every year.
we have a county budget of around 12 million and 1/6 of our county budget's going to retirement.
you're better at fractions than me.
Yeah, and another six is going to the jail.
COLA.
That's
Yeah.
just.
Well, that's the biggest reason why
absolutely
the state took over Detroit,
Insane.
because
Yeah, and look at what they did to the pensioners in Detroit. They
Yeah.
were cut, what, 5%?
Yes.
Immediately, and
that was the straw that broke the camel's back with the state going into Detroit.
We don't want state coming here.
It's not- Maybe I'm not reading this right.
And a lot of the
Maybe it's
municipalities,
something they added.
I'm sorry, say again?
a lot of those surrounding Detroit cities.
For
had the same
future
issue.
retirees.
That's why the states, E-course and all them, they've had to cut their
Yeah.
pension plans.
Yep.
and, But you know, city of
They added
Detroit,
a
according for their economy. Here, pension, there's no cost of living, but you know, yeah, I used to be
2006.
supervisor, Miles just passed away.
Retirees.
He left Detroit Police
Maybe
Department in
after that.
1970.
oh, wow.
He's been drawing the same pension since
For
1970.
future retirees.
Wow, that's a long time.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well,
I'm sorry.
depending on-
Some
A
years.
lot longer than he worked for him.
I think they added a COLA.
They did, it goes up. I
Future
wasn't
retirees.
going to interrupt any of you, but
It says for future retirees and they all have a different date.
I saw that the
Each plan has a
wages
different
went up.
date.
from the actuary of
Two
the,
point five COLA. For future retirees, each plan has a different date they implemented it. So yes,
Okay,
they
so
do a
yeah.
2.5.
And those were probably before that, whatever that cutoff
For
date. for
future.
people up front.
So the older ones did not have it, but the newer employees do get a 2.5%.
well, if you compare the two actuaries, the most recent one to the year prior, every single beneficiary deferred, they all go up a certain amount.
Yep.
So I don't know when exactly.
2.5%. Each plan has a different date, but they added it.
What does the general?
The general was the 1990, but it says
Oh, so
for
that would be all.
future retirees. So anybody after October of 1990, but then you go to like the admin group, they added it in 2006. The sheriff's department looks like 1990. Command in 2002.
Pretty common back in the
So-
90s to just throw whatever at retirement because it wasn't a cost we had to account for that. So nobody ever saw it. It was an easy one to give
There
away.
is a 2.5.
You know, and now
Yeah,
here
it
we
goes up.
are.
Yeah, they're not thinking about the future, they're thinking about now.
Yeah,
Kind of like with, defined benefit plan too, when they went and changed it to defined contribution. You know, when people start retiring, there isn't anybody gonna be coming up that's gonna be putting into that plan anymore. It's gonna be self-funded plan. By the time everybody that's on that plan is retired.
and that example Randy gave about the guy retiring in 1970, well, depending on how he
Made a selection.
made his selections, they could still be paying beneficiaries even now. You know,
Yes. So I just wanted to bring that up. Okay, are we done talking about that? Anybody else, any more comments? Number 5 is the jail revenue. You know, I want to talk about inmate lodging fee. At one time, they did charge inmate lodging fee, did they not?
Yes.
Why did they stop?
My research, basically, they looked at it, the debt collection was not feasible. They were only, they were way in the hole as far as debt collection. There was a lot of people that owed and were not. And they were not, the inmates were not putting money into commissary, is what is being explained to me. So they evaluated it, they got rid of the booking fees, and commissary took off. So people were putting.
Got rid of the booking fees or
Yeah.
the housing, like the room and board?
Excuse me,
So the booking fees, the state mandatory $12 booking fee.
The booking fees are still there.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's what I
We're
just,
talking housing.
yeah.
Yeah.
You just said booking fees. That's why I was like, oh my gosh, please don't tell me.
You know, get away with that.
Sorry, I misspoke.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, booking fees are still there. We still do all that type of thing. So the housing fees. So anyway, it was done away with by the past administration to up the commissary. So commissary has contributed 425,000 over the last 2 budget cycles. We're looking at it. Maybe we might consider it. I just want to see what the effects of the current situation is on commissary. Go from there as far as we're gonna change how we do things over there as far as booking fees.
All right,
Lodging fees.
Lodging fees, I'm sorry, booking fees,
lodging fees. yeah.
lodging fees, housing.
That's why I call it
fees.
lodging fee on the,
Yeah,
on
housing
the-
fees.
So this is a good conversation, and I think maybe you could have some insight on this, since you were also with Roscommon.
yeah, Danielle,
And I have spoke with the jail administrator at Roscommon a few times. She's a Ogemaw County resident. Have you heard that, because they obviously charge for housing.
Mhm.
Have you heard anything about their commissary
No,
funds
it's not
that are
affected.
affected because of that, or?
No, and there's other tactics to
excuse me,
use.
Commissioner Wiltie, Danielle is gonna talk about the Roscommon program.
Uh,
And then, yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
You want me to? I'll talk.
Yes, yes.
So there's other collection efforts that can be made. Obviously, I printed this off last night. Macomb County put together like this. If a jail wants to establish a pay to stay program, not the pay to stay in the sense of fines and costs, but pay to stay room and board, which we are statutorily allowed to do up to $60 a day. Then they gave you this is how to do it. This is what we do. They give you percentages of what their outstanding debt is. Now, obviously, Ogemaw County is not Macomb County. It's not feasible to send debt to a collection agency in Ogemaw or Roscommon County for that matter. But there's other ways to collect besides withholding commissary funds. And that is in Roscommon County, you don't get out on a medical tether unless your outstanding debt to the county is paid. So I'll give you a perfect example. 2 months ago, there's a female, she had a $6,000 outstanding debt to the county. She's been in jail that many times and hasn't paid. Well, now she's sentenced for 365 days. She's about to give birth. Jail administrator went to her and said, I will bring you to the hospital. You will have your baby. When they discharge you, you are coming back to the jail. Or you are coming up with, and she cut her a break. You're coming up with, I think, 4,500, whatever her logic behind that. And then you can, if you do that, you pay $4,500, you'll get your medical tether. You can go home, you can do your, incarceration at home. You'll be with your baby, blah, 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 blah. The next day, the family dropped off $4,500. So it can happen. You may have outstanding debt on the books. If it's a frequent flyer, they're going to come back. And then you have tools, mechanisms, you can withhold. My understanding in the past was that it was 50% of any funds put into commissary for outstanding lodging fees, 100% medical reimbursement. However, I did print the policy directive from corrections, and they'll withhold up to 90% of outstanding room and board from commissary. Now, I mean, if you want to continue, commissary also costs money. So that's not like a straight, revenue. It's not like somebody's out there donating all these supplies and then the inmates buy them and the county gets to reap all the benefits. That costs money to, you know what I mean?
Profit margins in the commissary, we know that, but yes, we do have expenses.
The room and board it costs money to stay there. The logic behind, because you then have this large outstanding debt, so we're not going to do it. I mean, you do collect money. Obviously, I have figures here. Roscommon in 2021 brought in to date, the end of the year, $488,759.
In lodging fees?
Well, no, I shouldn't just say that. You're also having to get your reimbursement from the MDOC, detainers and diverted felons. Now, you said that somebody's doing that like on a volunteer basis at the sheriff's department right now,
Right?
or the
Yeah.
jail?
Yeah.
Um,
That's in Sheltron, isn't it?
federal detainees, that's Roscommon had a portion of that. And beyond that, it's the room and board.
Can you give us a more specific number on just lodging for county inmates for Roscommon? Like for the last few years for just lodging, what we're missing out here?
The room and board
Minus-
sentence?
Yeah, because like I said, there's other numbers there and then the federal stuff, right? That just for the county residents that are lodged in Roscommon, because they charge for lodging. Is there a way you could kind of get more specific number? That
Well,
we-
sure. I mean, yeah,
Because we have detainers coming in, we have diverted felons coming in. So to apples.
so, yeah, so I mean, this particular month in 2022, there was $5,911 brought in. So, yeah, I mean, and that's gonna be, you'd have to take every single month, caption out that number, because obviously at the bottom of these totals, I'm getting total to date, but that's including the other portions. Room and board sentenced in December 1st to December 31st, previous month, November 1st, December 30th, 2021. Room and board sentence was $12,234. So,
That was for one more.
yes,
So what, did Roscommon used to come up with their rate? I don't know if they charge a daily rate or what they do.
They charge it
So-
max.
so I will go, that's the other thing that I printed off. That falls on the county commissioner and administrator
Mhm.
to establish that. I can, which
So I was hoping and I hope they have a,
they have like a calculated sheet that they use. If you would like that, I can have Jody
yeah,
email that to
that'd
you.
be great. The one thing we have to do is justify whatever we're charging. And I appreciate that there's a limit in the statute, but I'd really like to have the backup to say, well, this is why we're charging this much.
I know that we charge less than what our calculations come to.
I expect we
Because
would too,
we're
just
realists.
given where our expenses
Yeah.
are and everything, but I'd really be curious to see how they came up with their number and then apply it here and see what it would turn out to be.
Sure. No problem.
I have a question for Paul. Paul, how many inmates do we have today in the jail?
62, I think that's what was on the roster today.
Got the ADP today.
And how many of those were Osco?
November. ADP was 61 was the average for November.
What was the average of those from Osco County?
But they're around 20. If I look at the average, the numbers are around, it's about 20 is the average for them.
We get what, about 40 then from Ogemaw County?
61 was
That's fine.
ADP.
It's Marquette.
Yeah,
That's the highest one that I found. That's absurd. I don't know how they possibly come up with that.
Is that their daily rate?
Yeah, they do 60.
They charge $60 for lodging.
Roscommon County does?
No,
Marquette.
no, Marquette,
Oh, okay.
Marquette.
But there, the inmates don't want to leave because, blizzards. and-
Right.
Too cold.
Well, again, I just reporting as far as what the history was when we inherited this type of thing. So if we want to look at housing fees, we can look at it, maybe institute it, but since it was popped on me last time. Now we're talking about it again. Take a look at it. If we want to institute it, but
Well, I'll also say that the district court, prior to finding out that you guys didn't charge inmates, I mean, it's not that high. It was brought down quite a bit, but 8,000 of cost of confinement, which we will not be collecting this year until there's a pay or stay put back in place, because we can't charge probationers to stay in the county jail when nobody else is being charged to stay in the county jail. You know what I mean?
well, I guess maybe we need to sit down and have a conversation then, figure some of this stuff out.
How many years ago did they stop charging?
It was Castleman was under sheriff, so.
It's been a while.
We have a long,
15 years ago.
we have a law enforcement meeting 7th after our commission meeting. maybe we can try to get you guys to come back. This is a very important topic.
Well, I know a big part of the commissary is e-cigarettes and stuff, and they weren't that popular even 5 years ago compared to what they are now. And so for the commissary fund, it's doing very well. The people that have those addictions may still contribute to the commissary to have that.
The increase, we did a $2 increase in the e-cigs to 14, and it has not affected sales at this point. So they're still paying, and
The family comes up with the money.
yes. The way it was explained to me is that they noticeably saw families not putting money in the commissary because that's where they were collecting. As far as that's why they came up with a decision back then is, all right, we're gonna focus on commissary. Families
those
put money in
benefits.
there to get that. As opposed to the housing fees. When I talked to Doug about it after the initial conversation, he said there were $1 million in debt that they wrote off, and they tried collection agency, they tried to collect it themselves. He described to me that they tried all kinds of different avenues, and there just wasn't a whole lot of return on that.
I remember when Mark Serbrook was the undersheriff, they were using a collection agency back then, but I mean, that was how many years ago? It's been a while.
So does Roscommon house any out of county inmates?
Not unless,
So there's not a rate to, because I was just wondering what that will do with the rate that we charge Oscoda County. I mean, obviously, if
We have
our
a contract
rate's
with them.
different.
yeah, that's a part and separate. Usually when you have a contract, like, I mean, we have a federal contract, which we're bound by whatever they agree on, you know, as far as the contract's concerned. I believe Roscommon County is sitting at $25 a day this year. To
So
stay
that's a
per night.
lesser rate than what you guys collect for.
No,
Or is
our-
that is
that's
the sa-
our-
It's the same.
that's what we are charging people that aren't staying for any other purpose. The federal rate, I couldn't tell you, but
I
that's.
think I know,
contract.
because when
It's
I
higher.
spoke with her, I think that her number of federal inmates has really decreased, just like everybody's decreased.
Oh, the amount of
which is
inmates, yeah.
A huge loss of income
Yes,
for Roscommon
yes,
County.
yes.
But I believe she told me that they were, and this was about a month ago, $72 or $82 a day for federal.
The federal.
But they
things.
only had like 4 compared to 4 or 5 years ago when they had on average
Yeah,
20.
yeah.
Can you imagine how much money?
That's a big
that
loss.
lost?
Yeah. And it took a lot to get that contract. I mean, there was a lot of things that you had to do to be able, the feds to even. Watch anybody there.
Are the feds doing that
About
anymore?
It's a year.
We hardly have any.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We hardly have any. I think there's
And-
2 right now.
And at this point, I mean, look, at the loss they had, I mean, for us, we were gonna look into that, but it's not even a really viable option because they've got that big a loss, it's, you know, we're not gonna be able to capture unless people go into jail every day, you know.
And I mean, you have the law on your side. I printed all of the statutes, the prisoner reimbursement to the county act. I would encourage everyone to look at that's involved in this in some way, shape or form. You can have this copy.
Oh, cool.
And it specifically references the paragraph, cooperation of prisoner required, refusal to cooperate. A prisoner in a county jail shall cooperate with the county in seeking reimbursement under this act for expenses incurred by the county for that prisoner. Prisoner who willfully refuses to cooperate as provided shall not receive a reduction in his or her term. So there's your good time, that's gone, which is also another, you know, pay your stuff. If a prisoner is ordered to reimburse the county under this act as a probation condition, which is why that's how we were able to charge them the cost of confinement. You know, if somebody is placed on probation through the court and sentenced to jail time, we make it part of their sentence and court order. And then it goes on to explain you can civil action for reimbursement.
Take them to court.
Okay.
Yep.
We retain counsel.
If they're already on the books, right?
Mhm.
Then you have garnishments, and then I'm not trying to like kick somebody when they're already down. I'm not saying that. You obviously have all of this, your discretion remains, right? If you see that somebody is trying to work, is trying to rehabilitate themselves, you work with them. You don't, you know, go and file a civil suit against them and start garnishing every possible account that they have just so that you can see them in court and in jail again. But the people that just simply aren't responding back to the county, you do. It costs money for them to stay there.
So when we laid. We have to find a way to bring money into that jail because it's over $2 million a year for that jail. And that's a lot of money. And I know you have the commissary fund, which brings in a lot of money, but we need more money. Hopefully, if this, entity reimbursement thing, refurbish thing passes in May, it will help out a lot in a lot of areas in this county. But right now,
Can I make a comment to that?
yes, go ahead.
But again, I think it's, where my platform stands is we can't use this Headley restoration money to throw at something that isn't working. We have to fix what's not working now and use this money to create sustainability, to get a fund balance, to get out of an $875,000 negative cash flow.
Exactly.
So what we have is, and we all know this, is we have a giant jail that is tearing us dry of everything we have.
It is.
It's the bottom line. And we need to figure out how we're gonna be able to make this jail work. How we're gonna be able to make this jail run every day at a level that's able for us to continue to move forward and try to get some sustainability in this county. But that jail it's completely drying us right out.
Well, when it was first presented, it was presented to us that 3 people can run that entire jail. And that's all you need, and everybody believed that. Of course, they didn't believe, about the cooks and the water and all the utilities that go with it, and the maintenance of the building. And there was a lot of things, all our last year have talked about was we can run that jail with 3 people, and that's what convinced people to do this. Including the commissioners, yeah?
Commissioners decided to go forward with a jail project with the best information they had.
At the time, yeah.
The projected revenues and expenditures are nowhere near what they are. Today, we have a liability with that building to operate it and maintain it. The expenses are what they are. So one thing that we can't do is spend a lot of time saying how we sold the county a bill of goods, blah, 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 because it's irrelevant.
It is
That
now,
ship
yeah.
sailed, and you can look at the deficit that the county's in. It started the year that the jail opened, and it's got worse every year since the jail opened. And you can just look at the budget reports, Karen, you can look at the numbers. That's growing every year because the jail has never been sustainable. The county has been using other funds to support the jail. And that's the biggest culprit in the overall budget. The tax revenues have supported county functions by and large. But the jail's been a drain on the county. It's never been a profit maker. And so now how do you fix that? How do you address that and move forward in the budget?
And add to what Randy just said too, what you heard about you could run it with 3 people and all that was the standard argument every construction company made to every county to help justify and get the projects rolling. And I can't tell you, at least 3 times I've heard that same presentation. So again, I think at the time, that just was the message that was out there. And again, not to point fingers at anybody, but bottom line is that's what the board was told. That was the best information they had at the time. These were experts telling us this after all. Okay, what could go wrong? Well, now here we are. I don't know how many years it is.
It opened in 2010.
Okay, so 13, almost 14 years later, here we are. Charlie just said, we just need to fix it. We've got to address it. Whatever form that may take, we've got to make that effort. So, but it's difficult for me to look back in 2010 and say these people all made the wrong decision. I think they were being told things, even how he was being told things by the people.
Yeah.
I can almost tell you who some of them were. One of them has a state prison named after him now. But they went, I don't know, they were.
And I think
they were like camp followers, they would just go, oh, you're thinking about building a jail? Well, hire us because, and in a way we went.
I think to go along, and I think Randy hit it perfectly. We do need to go back. What's not working? We got to look back to see why that was created, and we need to make sure we never do that again. But right now, it's 2024. The jail's been here how long? Numbers don't lie. It's continuously draining us every year more and more and more, and we need to fix it. And we shouldn't spend any more time to look back. And I know we're not pointing fingers, but we know there were some major some major wrong decisions made. Nothing can be done about it now, but what can be done right now is we, us stakeholders, leaders, can make the right decisions to get us going into the future, the direction we need to go. But it has to happen now. We can't continue to talk about it. We should not even have to spend any more energy looking back and say why it happened. We know what happened. But this is a huge topic, and us as a budget committee, this is something, I think that we need to continue to talk about. And I don't know the answer, but we've got to figure it out.
So I know we're all talking about the same thing and just don't want to say the word jail, but if we have to have a plan in place of how we're going to fix this, if the millage doesn't pass in May. Because we can't keep going
Well, I
like
can
this.
tell you, you can't sell a Headley restoration to the public by saying, if we don't pass this, we're gonna shut our jail, because the public doesn't care about that.
I understand.
That is not a community service that
You're
they
right.
are gonna be concerned about. So if you go to the public and say, here are the facts and the jail will be closed if this doesn't pass, public's not gonna care.
I understand that. I
We've got to have a different angle.
And Brenda, to add on to this, I don't think a penny of Headley should have anything to do with the jail. What we have to look at right now is we have a jail that's running at this level that cannot continue to operate at that level. We need to bring it back. We need to figure out how to bring it back. Headley needs to be used for other items, which we need to figure out what those items are going to be.
Correct.
But the jail's never gonna be a self-sustaining entity. And so you have to subsidize it with general fund dollars. So whether you're talking Headley override or a millage or whatever it is, it's still gonna be a general fund obligation. It's not, my department's never gonna be self-sustaining. It's mandated by the state. There is no revenue source for my department other than contractual what we do with the townships, and that could go away next year.
Right. No.
But so many of our departments, they're, we just have to provide those services.
But
But it is.
can I
a
just
general fund
piggyback off
obligation.
you?
Yeah.
As a leader of a department, right? You need to strive. That is my job, is to strive to break even. It's harder and harder every year, right? But I exhaust every possible option that I can to break even. So we don't turn our heads at possibilities or solutions, right? Like unless you can bring to me what trying is going, if it's gonna cost you money, then that's the only reason why you would say no to something, right? When you're trying to save a department, I don't know if I'm getting it across there as well as I'm trying, but I think it's absurd. Definition of insanity. Right? You just expect a different outcome, but you're doing nothing to fix it. I don't understand. You don't want the jail to close. Nobody in this community wants this jail to close. I don't want the jail to close, just coming from a court perspective. I mean, that is a huge logistical nightmare. However, you gotta start doing something. And we cannot be seen as cash cows. That's,
I
No,
understand, but it
right.
is a general fund obligation.
It is.
my point.
It is. And we just have to try our hardest to break even, maybe bridging that gap. Instead of it being negative 300,000, you're 100,000. Well, you just saved 200, right? I mean, I don't know. I just had to get my 2 cents out there because I just feel like you're putting your head in the sand. I have brought this up since August.
Yep.
Since August. Like standing on the roof, hello, since August. Yeah, that was me. Hello. And so now that we're in December, what's happening?
Well, we're here doing
Yeah.
this, so this is a good, but we need to keep the momentum going.
That's right.
But I think there needs to be all sorts of talks, and I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but yes, we have to operate something. We have to figure out what we can afford to operate, because right now we can't afford as a county to operate what we have going on over there and what the future looks like with people going to jail. I mean, there's all sorts of options. That's why we're here to talk. I think the sheriff's department, I think there should be talk in this. I'm not just throwing, this is conversations. The sheriff's department should think about maybe moving over to the jail. We close this building. I mean, there's all sorts of things that we have to start talking about, but we have no other options at this point than to throw everything out there.
That's right.
For the reason we're all here.
Yep.
There
We've
was
got to-
talk at one time of creating an emergency response center at the annex, since dispatch was already there, moving the sheriff's department into the annex. There was discussion about that at one time. I don't know what happened or why it never came to fruition. I know there was an issue with the guns, proper gun storage, I think was one of the
Yeah,
issues.
yeah, I heard that.
But
Evidence room and all that.
yeah, but I mean, if it's administration, can we still use that as an option and move the administrative offices over to the annex? That way the weapons aren't in with jail inmates, but maybe we could create some kind of proper storage for them. There's already offices in there. I don't know,
I think it can be done. It won't come without expense, but that's
but if we could shut down an entire building and eliminate the
right. Yeah,
utilities.
we're talking about that now. We also add to the equation when we had to do our layoffs at the jail. There's been concern voiced about the ability to respond to any incident in the jail. Well, the sheriff's department was over there
In the
already.
building
At least
itself.
during business hours, you've got some people there
Yeah.
that can come in and help.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think there are some really good possibilities in both directions. And yes, we no longer have to heat the building to, comfortable for us. We just need to have it sustainable for the things that we're storing over there.
So you'll make
climate
that a good
control.
conversation at your next law
Yeah,
enforcement
that's what I
about
was gonna bring
possibly
it up
moving the
next
admin
Thursday.
office?
Will be brought up next Thursday. And I think we can look into, see what our existing, utility costs are there. We know that building is obviously old. I know a lot of that cold storage isn't heated. But like for me too, it's like, I take a lot of pride in the short time that I've been here and what I'm doing. And one of the first things I said when I was here is, I understand we have money issues, but look at the sheriff department, look at the facade of this place. It's embarrassing. And it's continued to just look worse and worse. I mean, that to me, every time I drive by it, and I'm by it a lot, it bugs the absolute shit out of me. It's embarrassing.
Well, at least the metal flap was gone that was flapping in the wind.
And they
Well,
watch them old. off
And
the
I
side of the
understand
building.
it's a financial thing we have, but I mean, still, it's,
It represents the county.
Is there enough space in the jail to, like, if you were,
I haven't looked at it
Yeah.
deeply enough to be able to tell you, but I mean, there are some arguments that say it is, but I don't know enough about it to tell you. I don't know. I mean, I know there's training rooms that maybe can be converted, but those are the dives we need to take. And maybe we talk about that at law enforcement about scheduling, doing that. I mean, I don't think we need to spend any money right now, but some of us at least doing a walkthrough and maybe take a tape measure with us and figure out the space needs and go from there.
I think it's something that needs to be looked at about moving that. But Commissioner Wilson is correct. This is a big drain on our over $2 million. That's a big drain on our budget. A big drain.
well, it's a good thing that you guys didn't put the detention center idea in. Now that
Yes.
that place at Kirtland,
Oh,
did you see that? It's great
Yeah.
because we need it,
we need it bad, yeah.
but there wasn't like any conversations. I don't know. Did anybody come to the county and talk to you guys about it?
Oh, we didn't hear anything.
I would be curious to know exactly what it is.
Well,
Because
Jake
that is
reached
my
out.
department and we don't know anything about it. We don't know,
communication at all.
zero communication with the courts to say, hey, what's going on?
Jake Cleany reached out. He's,
Yeah,
our
They're
juvenile
supposed to
referee.
go to the Asable Township Board meeting Saturday, December 9th. The owners to discuss it with them.
you can't even find out who the owners are, or at least I didn't. when I
Well,
first came.
because I've got the information.
Okay,
I'm the assessor.
Will that be saving any money if it's even something, you don't know?
You talking about the old?
I have there's no way to know.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't know what they
Well, they're
charge,
supposed to-
but they're
They're
closed.
supposed to demo most of the buildings. They're keeping like the administration building.
Oh, that's it?
Or- Yeah, it's.
I was excited when I read the article, but now it's kind of been discouraging when I begin to reach out to people that should know something about it and they don't. And it's like, oh, maybe this isn't gonna be as helpful as I thought it was gonna be, but.
And there was part of an expectation of me, the deal needed to close. They needed to figure out that was going to happen first, and then maybe we would start to hear something from somebody.
But that's not what happened.
Yeah, that makes me nervous. It gives me cautious. Because, there's a lot that goes into running
Yeah.
a detention facility for youth.
Mhm.
That's more,
Lot of
just in the little bit of
compliance.
information I sent you over, what that requires in the
Well,
pages and pages and.
That's why
pages
ours
and
closed.
Right, right.
I mean, we
The
had one.
operation of it, and that's for a secure detention, though,
Yeah.
is that what this is? Is it residential treatment? There's all those different aspects of it. So that's why we have not, as a leadership team, kind of even ventured into that, because they did this big announcement and it didn't say anything,
Right.
other than this is what we're gonna have. And it skewed more towards addiction.
Mhm.
So that certainly would be something that we could look at if that's a youth that we have a problem with. But we also don't know what the daily rate's going to be. Daily rates are going up all over the place. So we're still trying to keep people here and spending that money with Partners in Change to try to provide services here is where we're trying to do, what we have going. It's not perfect, you're still gonna have youth that are a danger that have to be sent out, but I think we're seeing numbers come down. Certainly the county appropriation in that budget was helped by the 75% increase that was instituted in October. That dropped $100 and some thousand off of the county appropriation on the child care fund budget, which is a
That's great.
million dollar budget. The county appropriation is 338. So, way better than where we were in 2018, 2019, when we had to come and ask for $500,000
Yeah,
to cover the housing
yeah.
of youth. That was an $800,000 chunk of our budget was just housing youth at that point. So, there are positive changes that are happening of things that are almost out of our control
Sure.
that are helping reduce that cost, because it is a huge expense.
Let me digress a minute. We really need to capture the essence of that. I'm thinking back now to our Headley override. We want to talk about things that, that will, possibly happen if we don't get it, but pinpoint some of these positive things that have been done too in communities. So, we are making the attempt, but for these, Headley impact on the budget, we can't ever get ahead. But I think that's an important message too. And this whole thing just is sounding so familiar to me. There was a state hospital in Mount Pleasant. I think it was a state hospital, state facilities anywhere. The city ended up in possession of that for $1 to revitalize it. And something similar to this was proposed and got everybody hyped up and great, this is going to happen. And buildings started being torn down. And then suddenly there weren't the finances that the private sector promised. And so they kind of abandoned the project and there's lawsuits and everything else. So I wouldn't get too excited about this happening just yet. It's just bringing so familiar.
Staffing is, I think, is going to be the biggest hurdle.
You mentioned the list that you given Paul. I know when we were kicking that around, it's incredible, the requirements. The staffing requirements and what you have to have available to have a facility like that. Yeah.
Be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Come about.
Yeah.
So
Certainly not writing it off.
Sorry, questions.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I just hadn't brought it up because we still don't really have a whole lot of information.
I would have been really happy if you guys were like, oh yeah, they came and talked to us. They put on this great presentation. We're gonna save.
And that's just really bizarre to me.
Well, especially, I mean, it's located in Roscommon County.
Yeah.
I don't know why
That's what we thought here was, maybe Jake knows all about it.
I called Jake at home. It was a Friday night when the article went live, so I called our FOC referee. I'm like, holy crap. Answer prayers.
This may be a little bit out there, but we better make sure there's not ties back to the Chinese government.
You got a whole new crowd in here if that happens.
yeah, there would be. Anyways, I had a tally done and when we did those layoffs, we'll probably save about $400,000 a year from those layoffs from the jail. And I've got all the full times would be 362,794. That does not include the part-time, so I figure about $400,000. Then,
In the layoffs,
yeah,
That's
just
what
the
the
employees, yeah, just the employee pay.
Is that not benefits?
No, that includes
okay.
benefits. Includes benefits, yeah,
Insurance and the MERS.
yeah, everything, yeah,
wages and fringes.
Yeah.
So the employee layoff savings is approximately 400,000.
Estimated,
yeah, estimated, yeah.
through the end of this
400,000.
fiscal year, yeah.
A big thing that we know we have to watch is overtime costs.
Yes, I
That's one
think,
thing we've been working on, trying for transfers and everything else where that's gonna land and how we're gonna manage that. And I know.
We have to transport people on call though,
Your
don't we?
side of things too
what's
is,
that?
Transporters are on call, aren't they? To transport inmates, aren't they?
I didn't hear you.
The transporters are on call, aren't they? When they have to transport an inmate?
Yeah, that's the current practice that's being
Yeah,
put in place, so.
so they're not on the payroll all day long. They don't,
Right.
when they're actually working. So,
Which is the way it's always.
I was gonna say, that isn't that the way usually they'd only have like 5 hours here or whatever. I don't think that they were when they were the part-time, right?
The way it's been.
You have call-ins for hospital stays, for pickups, that type of thing. You have court days, which is what transporters use. So court days are different. Obviously, court is scheduled on each type of day. You have to have so many employees to watch the inmates and go back and forth, so.
Yeah.
As far as the call-ins, yes, and it's being put out per the contract as it stands right now, so we're dealing with that. And
at the jail now, are you dealing with a lot of overtime right now?
we're analyzing it. We're
Okay.
in the first couple pay periods, so I mean, we're looking at it. Tim is sending out his overtime that he's put together.
Right now, they're right on target.
I was gonna say, when I told the budget, yeah, they're right around that 15-16% that we should be at
Howard
right
has
now.
put together a great plan as far as management dealing with situations. Time will tell. At the end of the day, time will tell how this is gonna play out. We won't know for another few pay periods exactly. We're gonna have vacations. Knock on wood, we don't have somebody go down with FMLA or an injury or that type of thing. We're already gonna be having a discussion about somebody leaving for another employment and
Yeah.
recalling one of our laid off persons. That'll be discussed.
A corrections officer.
It's going to another county, so we're gonna have to discuss recalling one of the layoff to fill that vacancy, but if we lose one or two bodies, we're gonna be strapped trying to maintain that building, so we're doing the best that we can. Howard's doing a great job, but we're right on that edge.
So Paul, I appreciate you being here, and I know today there's been a lot with, the corrections, the jail, but we had to have these hard talks with the jail. We see it. I know I brought up today about the possibility of the sheriff department moving over there. And I know that's been talk in the past. Do you have any thing to say, the possibility of the sheriff department moving over there? I mean, just off the top of your head, do you think bad idea? Do you think it's a possibility if we look into it?
It's been talked about ad nauseum from what I understand. Again, I've only been here now coming up on 3 years, so the logistics of moving over to the jail. I don't know. There's not a whole lot of room over there with the layoffs and that type of thing. There's only so much room in the administrative part of that jail. They talked about an addition. I think the original plans had, to build on something there. I don't know if we could function out of there with deputies, that type of thing. Take a look at it. We took a look at the annex building. There are just certain things that we need, property rooms. Those type of things that need to be addressed with the annex. That was gonna cost us money, to restructure the interior of it. We even talked to the people that built the post to see if that was an option. We sat down and had a long conversation with them, see if we could build a new building. Have him fund it. It just didn't materialize. So it's not that we're pushing back on these type of things. It's, we have to do our jobs also. And I don't know that we can fit in that jail with the personnel that we have. Not like we're not embarrassed about the sheriff's office facade either, but we're not gonna spend money on fixing the top of that building when we're trying to keep bodies on the road and cars on the road. There's different priorities. And I would love to have a nice building. At the end of the day, I'd rather have the liability issues of a good vehicle for the deputy to go out there and patrol with, as opposed to where I'm sitting in an office.
Oh, and I understand that. And obviously I'm the same way, but it just shows you I think the nature of exactly where our county is financially. I mean, when we literally cannot figure a way to fix our sheriff department facade like that, I think that just shows you the exact position that we're in, which is a very bad position.
Arguing that point.
Any other comments?
Did you reach out to consumers?
About replacing the lights.
We actually have gone through, like a preliminary review. But we haven't followed up on it since that was before the budget. Some say around what, August was the time they were here. Trying to think about that.
June, I thought they came.
There was a
June,
contractor that worked
that you
for.
did your walkthrough.
Oh, was there a walkthrough?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
you
did a
walkthrough.
With
yeah,
consumer,
with
right?
Because remember the gentleman that contracts with consumers came and told us about the building?
But not
Our
consumers
meetings.
themselves.
It was a
Right, it was the
contractor.
contractor.
I guess we need to have
So
But you contacted
Cons-
consumers, that's what they said.
Right,
this was brought up their last meeting and you are gonna get back
Oh, was
on
it?
this, right?
right.
Because it is important. I mean, and we're sitting with $1.2 million in ARPA funds, where if we can spend some money to save long-term money, we need to do that.
Three of my family members work for consumers, and so the engineer, I had my husband call him, I drive here. See if I could get a backdoor number, because I didn't know if you had reached out or not, I didn't know that.
I can't remember the guy's name. I've got it.
Mike Daisy,
Don't think so. That doesn't
he's who the
sound right.
consumers had when we did our audit for a township. We worked with a company out of Wisconsin actually that did the audit and did the, our heat facility, our heat upgrades.
So they were gonna do it for free, right?
There were some things for free and other things, there were rebates if we did things and just I'm gonna have to get back into that file
Okay,
and all,
So Tim, you'll follow up on the consumers' energy
Mhm.
savings?
actually already on my list.
We kind of like at roundtable right now, just bringing up, going around.
I'm sorry if I.
We're done
that's
with
not what you
agenda
wanted me to
stuff.
bring up.
Just kind of roundtable.
Yep.
I just have one thing, and I know we have talked about this, but I want to say that we have to make sure, moving forward, things aren't happening again, like what happened with the payments in October. And I know we've talked about this, but obviously those are the type of things that we have to look at every avenue if we need that, we think that there's something being missed to make sure that type of activity doesn't happen again.
Right.
Julie, what are you talking about? Payments in October?
The fiscal year bridge, so that the first check that was written in October.
Oh, the
was
accruals.
For September.
Okay.
Had the
Accruals.
increases on it.
Okay.
And that's gonna be a topic of bargaining, so you're gonna be hearing a lot more about that probably March, April wise as we start to strategize for contracts. But I'm maintaining a list of these things so that when we do meet, we've captured them all and we'll talk probably in a closed session about strategies on how to make these things get fixed. I'm not sure that one's gonna be a really tough sell, but it is a mandatory subject of bargaining, so we'll do it. And
Is there a plan for bargaining since all of the contracts are up? Are you doing them in phases? Are you doing them?
well, we're really at the mercy of the unions and when they tell us they're ready to bargain, but I'll do it like we did the last round. It's gonna be, and I'll look at my calendar around March or April, I'll start closed sessions with the board and going through these contracts, showing areas where we need to make some changes. Obviously, we'll be talking about, wages and benefits too, which is, probably topic one that the unions want to discuss. But we've had this issue, we've had the holiday issue that we've dealt with, so we want to clean those things up as best we can. But there's going to be quite a list. And I think the last time I took, I think we did the steel workers in the courts first in our closed session, then we dealt with the law enforcement side. The second, because they're 312 eligibility, but I've got a template that we'll follow. But long being said about March or April, we're going to talk about it. We're going to be prepared to bargain where the unions are or not, but we'll be then having to wait for them to schedule a day that they're ready to come in and talk. Yeah, you got quite an agenda in front of you for this coming year.
I hope the unions realize that the financial position we're in, there shouldn't be a lot of leverage here. We're tilting here at.
You're still gonna see the request for
I know.
25% pay increase.
No, but yeah, $900,000 negative cash flow. Guys, we
Well-
have a huge issue staring us right in the face.
I think we've got some good members on the bargaining team side that will help keep that in check, those outrageous requests. And like I say, there won't be one or two that land, but they know what the situation is. And I hope they'll be reasonable right out of the gate. So we're not having to spend one or two meetings saying, whatever.
Not that I'm specifically talking strategy, but as you're thinking about that, keep in mind that in some of your bargaining units, The last round of negotiations that happened, it was really pushed to cut time off. And in those bargaining units, it didn't save you a penny. Because we don't replace an employee in our bargaining unit when they're off for the day, when they take time off. We don't have to bring in a ringer to cover them. So that was a huge topic of conversation, and time off was slashed to almost, you get 4 days off your first year here. Okay, in our bargaining unit. Which is significantly less.
Yeah.
Than what the existing folks are making. That was a $0 savings to the county when that happened. We can talk about productivity, but if you look in our offices, we cover that productivity problem pretty well when somebody is off.
Unless you have 3 off
Unless you have to, that's true.
yesterday.
That is true. I understand that. So, I mean, there is some cost, but it's negligible in that conversation. So a 2% raise was given every year for 3 years, but they cut time off that didn't save any money. Do you know what I mean? Like, so there are things in your back pocket that you might have that would be beneficial that aren't going to cost the county money by saying, hey, we'll give you a little more time off back. At least in these bargaining units. Some bargaining units, that's not the case. If you got to bring somebody in to cover if there's a shift being missed, but.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right,
I
for
appreciate
sure.
you- I
And I
appreciate
mean,
you
we're-
bringing that
believe
up.
me, we've been on the hiring thing here and
And
we can't even get anybody to apply.
And right,
I mean,
that's a
not
selling
one
point,
applicant
right?
right now
The
for,
benefits.
Yeah.
That's a selling point.
time off,
yeah.
you know,
It's
and
one
if
of the
it's not
cheapest
costing.
things that you can offer.
Uh-huh.
And I know there's one commissioner that it just doesn't like giving it.
I know what
Who's the
you're talking about.
negotiation committee? Who's on the negotiation?
Right now, it's Brenda and Craig.
Brendan Craig?
And that's subject to change because the board looks at their committees
January.
annually, so.
Okay.
But right now, that's.
And I'm just thinking, if you have to walk in and talk about 0 pay increase.
I'd like to stay on that committee.
Here's,
You gotta talk to your colleagues. I don't have a voice in that.
you know,
Appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah.
It's a real good point.
Right, it is.
and it does, we've gone through a lot of hiring in our respective offices. That it is,
An issue.
when you have to have a conversation and say you get 2 days in 3 months and another 2 days in 6 months, and that's got to get you through a year, and you're looking at a person with a family, kids, daycare, it's hard.
Without
sell.
competitive salary.
Yeah, right.
Without.
We're in with government salaries, which are notoriously lower than the, but it's,
Except at the federal level.
yeah, except the federal level. So anyway, just to put that in your back pocket is,
Sorry to see your experience, though, it's probably gonna be the norm. It's gonna be tough to get applicants in the door, much less,
Well, I
qualified.
think the last round we had 6 applicants. Every single one of them said it was not enough money to leave where they were at.
Yeah.
I mean, and 3 in the younger generation, 3 in the older generation.
Not
And
that we use age
no, we
criteria.
can't. No, I know, but I mean, that was our dynamics as we had 3 that were like in their 30s maybe, or roughly that age, and then 3 ready to retire type age, and none of them were willing to.
What's the starting pay?
If we give them a level 2 at $16 an hour. And that we're aiming to try to give them a level 2. We would like to find an office manager,
Right.
and we could possibly put them at a level 3. I think that's 1684.
Yeah, I mean,
I
like,
mean,
17.
And then you're talking,
can
they're
compare
leaving
that
a
with retail.
40-hour work for a 35-hour week. So it's not only,
Yeah.
I mean, I took a pay cut coming here.
Mhm.
Number one, I took a little bit of a pay cut per hour, but I also took
Lots of
lots
time.
of hours on pay cut. I mean, when you think I was working 60 to 70 hours a week and I come to a 35-hour week,
mhm, mhm.
I don't have to drive. So
Right.
But those hours make a difference. for
that
people
makes a
when our
difference. I'm local,
salaries
I can
aren't
take care of stuff
competitive.
on my lunch. There's, I mean, it's a benefit.
Right.
It's gotta be a.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just, we haven't been able to find, and we've got one applicant and she got on a plane to go somewhere. She must be on vacation right now, so she can't even come in and interview right now. So we're like, we were hoping for the first of the year hire, and it probably,
Do they get time when, like, from hire date or what, I mean, what's?
no, after. What is it, after 30 days, they get their sick day after
After
30
30
days,
days.
but they don't get, what'd you say, 3 months? You think yours.
or no, 3 months and you
3
get
months.
2 days. 6 months and you get an additional 2 days for the first year. And then at your year anniversary, you get 5 and 5, so 5 vacation, 5 personal, so you get 10. At your year 1, and then that stays the same for an extended period of time, I think up until, I don't know if
The
it's.
5 year?
I know,
I think
I think
5 years
it's
is
at least
lower,
5.
and then
Five.
it's like a
That's
bigger
extremely-
jump, yeah.
That's why I had,
This last round, bargain to at least start the benefits, as soon as we could do. They used to have to wait about 6
Yes,
months.
the insurance
for
used to have to be
benefits.
wait
No,
for 30 or
30 days.
60 days
30
or whatever.
days.
I think Teamsters still is 30 days. Mesa, we can do whenever we want. We have the benefit to do whatever we want with Mesa, so we do it immediately.
Oh,
For health insurance, for our union,
Well,
not
then,
for the Teamsters
right.
board.
So that 1684 an hour is about just over $28,000 a year, and that's before deductions.
That's what I'm saying. If you start talking budget cuts, by the time you add benefits in that, our employees are only at $50,000-$60,000 per employee. To cut $1 million, we'd be cutting this whole building down. I mean,
That's right, and people don't understand that.
mhm.
To save on personnel is a big expense. The conglomerate of all, but you can't let up the conglomerate go. There would be.
No public service.
like right now, I have one girl and she was due for her break at 10 and she can't take her break because the other two are upstairs in court. I mean, I probably should be in there
Mhm.
in my office because I don't have anybody to cover. So I have to go give her a union break.
Move to adjourn and we'll.
Well, oh, yeah, I can do that.
Okay,
I-
anybody else
but
have
yeah,
comments?
I do have one other thing though. I did try to look at the budget last week. I mention the housing has no budget in there?
Right. In fact, I
Whatsoever.
wanted to sit down with you and Karen to go over
Okay.
the numbers I've gotten from housing. They finally have, they thought, gotten track on all the grants they've got that are in
Okay.
for this year. And now they got word this week that they're gonna qualify for a lot more, but that's okay.
And it's a wash. I know
Yeah.
that what they bring in, they pay. It's not like
But we
it's
need to-
costing any money
yeah.
here.
We do need to sit down and do
Get the
that.
budget.
This happened last year too.
Does Leanne have access to general ledger?
No, I
Don't
usually,
think so.
I think I send it to her. She's
You
one of
send
those
it?
ones that I
Okay.
still
In
send
fact, I
out.
had to give her the spreadsheet just to show her where she had
Right.
been
Okay,
prior years.
okay.
And that's extremely complicated. I've got some ideas on how we might be able to simplify that. They are a vendor. We'll talk about it.
Okay,
Nice.
so we'll have budget adjustments.
And the other one too
Yeah.
is MIDC, the expenses do not match on MIDC for the grant. And I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
upload that. So I tried to start, I just looked at it last night for a little bit,
We
so.
found 2 or 3 where expenditures are higher than.
Well, no,
revenues.
that was just on the cover sheet. They're okay in this big
The actual
document.
GL?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're just, it wasn't on this.
Not on the draft.
But like, MIDC expenditures are like $200,000 less than what the grant's for and we can't make
Right,
money on
yeah,
it.
Okay, so what you're.
And they're
looking
gonna
at-
need me to upload that
I
at the
I
end
know
of
what the issue
December.
is. Okay.
Okay, so I just kind of going through it. I tried to look through my part of the budget anyway, because I thought that's what we were gonna look at.
Speaking of MIDC, last February, there was a very large bill paid out of district court to an MIDC attorney.
All right, let's
I'm
track
gonna
it
have to
down.
look at it.
I just didn't know, like, with,
Net code.
yeah, well, it's, I don't know, or if like maybe there's an actual explanation for it. I didn't know. Are you, anyone here aware of any, like, okay.
Yeah, the only time we pay anything out of MIDC that's not MIDC would be if you guys submitted a bill, so.
Right, okay, which shouldn't go through the courts. We're completely,
Yeah, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but the juvenile justice reform bills passed. So in all likelihood, we're looking at MIDC for juveniles as
Yeah.
well.
that's being added.
So that's gonna be another mandated.
I think I might have mentioned this to the board at a committee meeting too.
And then
So-
that also corresponds with, they're probably also going to completely tie us up in charging any sort of fines and costs to juveniles as well, or their families. So we don't know what any of that looks like. That's why we haven't talked about it yet, but
Also talking about using the MIDC money and requiring us to establish a public defender's office, literally an office.
Yeah.
Right, that's
On
been in
site.
talk.
No employees kind of thing.
that's what many of the counties, most counties have already done that.
Yeah.
Well, up
And I
here,
think
It's less, the regions, yeah.
regions, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it'd have to be.
Yeah,
Just
and you've
knowing
been
what,
talking about that since the
no
start of the
way.
program.
well, so Oscoda, Alpena, who else is over there? They have a region,
Alcona,
I asked.
Alcona.
Montmorency.
Alcona. What's Harrisville? Alcona. They have a regional defense office that the 3 counties, funding units split. And that's the only way that you can even get the attorneys
Yeah.
to,
It's
you
coming
know,
down the pipe.
We can barely get attorneys now.
I-
That will improve with MIDC for juveniles because they'll be paid more. Theoretically. So.
good for them.
mhm.
I did send the slides out from the training presentations to everybody.
right.
Thank you for doing
for
that.
anything that you missed and wanted to review.
And it was done so quickly too. It's like you asked and there they were.
So you got your book bookmarked there. Wait, what?
And I'm up to chapter 6.
I need to get one of those.
Okay. I'll get you one.
Okay. Any other comments? Register? Treasurer?
Denise, can I
Clerk?
get you to sign this? This is the holiday agreement with the union.
I need a pen.
Oh, I have
have a
a pen.
pencil here. Thank you.
Brett's at a conference. I think she's gonna try to be back by like 1 or 2.
It doesn't have to be today. I just started, as I see.
I heard you
people-
say you were gonna walk around and like she won't be back for a
So
little.
what's happening? They're
This,
gonna,
it's gonna be the schedule that the court adopted.
okay.
Brenda.
Well, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not really excited about it either. I would rather have the day after Christmas off. But
Yeah.
let's scale.
Well, you could just be me who fully believed that it was Monday and
Yeah.
Tuesday up until you sent me the LAO. And it's our LAO, so.
So the,
That's
the
my bad.
holidays that you gave me for 2024 are the ones, because I have to enter all that in Nova
Trust
time.
me, I think.
Okay, I think I pointed it off because I'm like, oh, well, this is from 2024.
So I referenced the statute, right, or is it court rule, without looking at the email. If you always just constantly go back to that when you're looking at a calendar, like it doesn't give specific dates, right?
Right.
But it tells you if this is what's happening, if Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve is falling on Saturday or Sunday, then it's the, prior, whatever. Anyways, so that's what I do.
Well, that's fine.
That's what
I
you got.
just, took that schedule because I used to send it to me and that's what I would input for holidays and it affects everybody except for corrections and deputies because they get actual holidays. So then I have to decipher and put it for contract in the Nova time, 'cause
Right.
there's all those
Holiday
different
time.
user groups that have different holiday rules. So
I'm sorry.
no, that's fine. That's how I took it.
You can blame scale.
We always followed what the court schedule was and
And maybe before the courts are just like, we're gonna do what we want. I don't know.
No, I was just completely.
Just got a odd-
right. It just the way it felt.
Everything came together nicely.
It's good.
Any other comments?
I don't have to change anything in overtime. That's all.
Okay, I need the next meeting I've got scheduled for January 12th. Does anybody have any issues with that? It's on a Friday, same place, same time, same people.
We'll have a lot more people here.
A lot more people.
Yeah, we will. So we need to have the next meeting out there in the main room.
I just make a suggestion for the agenda. Let's have all them right away, then they can leave and then we.
Good idea.
Mhm.
All right, I'll work with you on that, and who's coming and stuff, yeah,
Sure.
okay. All right,
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you, everyone.
need a
Second.
motion?
You
All in favor?
Oh, yes.
You said motion to adjourn. I was like, second.
I was just asking.
I'm sorry. I thought you were stating.
Turning at 10:49?
Oh.
Tim, are you here all day?
Good deal.
Okay, I need to get a signature from you up here shortly.
You know, that isn't, you think about.
I'm sorry
government,
that I got to turn.
That is not a lot of pay. 84 an hour.
No, I mean, but that's,
That's $28,000.
Don't ever apologize for doing your job.
I mean, that was just very, I've had sheriff in my office, I've had Tom Howard in my office, I've had this one in my office.
I have one thing. I like how you roll.
Everybody's trying to do something about it.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, they
oh yeah, get that.
$20 an hour.